welcome to another edition of Currently in Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano, and on today's program we will be checking in with Robert Pearson, Director of the Norfolk County RSVP program, for an update. First, though, as always, we take a look at the weather and the news for you. Currently in Quincy, some sunshine out there through the clouds. It is 60 degrees right now. Today will turn out partly sunny and rather pleasant with highs into the mid-60s. Should be great for the trick-or-treaters this evening. The rain is going to hold off till late tonight. It'll be cloudy and not too cool. Lows tonight only into the mid-50s. The rain arrives after midnight and will continue through the day tomorrow with off and on showers. Highs tomorrow in the upper 60s. Look at the rest of the week after tomorrow. Beautiful stretch on Wednesday and Thursday with sunshine both days. Temperatures in the low to mid 60s. Overnight lows in the mid 40s. Looks nice actually right through next weekend. Right now, though, partly sunny and 60 degrees here in Quincy. Checking news for you today, the Quincy City Council still debating whether or not to approve an extra $23 million for the new Quincy Police Station. Mayor Thomas Koch made that request for the additional funding, blaming the increase on inflation across the entire economy. Quincy City Council President Noel DeBona says that he supports the extra money, but says future spending is uncertain.
There will be a smaller window of opportunity to get your papers, to get your signatures. I'm anticipating.
Obviously not City Council President Noel DeBona apologized for that, but the request for the additional money does remain in the City Council's Finance Committee. The next full City Council meeting is November 14th. Council previously did approve $120 million for the new public safety complex, which will replace the current police station on C Street. Now, when the City Council does meet again on November 14th, they will be voting on having a special election to fill the Ward 4 City Council seats. Brian Palmucci officially resigned on October 25th after being appointed a district court judge. City Clerk Nicole Crispo is getting ready to have a special election to fill the remainder of Palmucci's term through next year's city election.
There will be a smaller window of opportunity to get your papers, to get your signatures. I'm anticipating probably November 15th for nomination papers to be available. And get them right back, probably a 2-week window, and there'll probably be an election early next year, preliminary perhaps, and then an election.
Candidates have to obtain the signatures of 50 voters who live in Ward 4. 2 potential candidates have already established campaign committees. If there are more than 2 candidates, a preliminary election would be held in mid-January, with the final election in mid-February. The winner will be eligible to run for the full 2-year term in next fall's city election. Well, the online Children with Special Needs course that's offered at Quincy College has been officially certified by Quality Matters. Quality Matters is an international organization with a faculty-centered peer review process aimed at ensuring the quality of fully online, blended online, and hybrid courses. And this course is taught by Dr. Becky Del Vecchio, who spent 25 years in the field of early childhood education. She's taught a range of courses during her tenure as adjunct faculty, teacher, and preschool director. All faculty at Quincy College must complete online training. That includes a Quality Matters workshop that's focused on high-quality course design. Quincy College says it is the first institution of higher learning in the state to have an online course officially certified by Quality Matters. Now, renovations are wrapping up to Quincy's Collins Rest a While Park on Marymount Parkway. Mayor Thomas Koch, whose father had the idea for that park, says the last update to the playground was about 20 years ago and a refresh was desperately needed.
Collins Rest a While, interestingly enough, the park director's name in the 60s was Richard Koch, and he proposed and built the Collins Rest a While, and everybody was critical, saying, who's going to go to that? It's not in a neighborhood. and it became the most popular playground in the city for a number of years, interestingly enough. And so Collins is getting the a rebirth, if you will, state-of-the-art new equipment, and it'll all be handicapped accessible for some of the kids that have trouble navigating on the wood chip stuff. So if you go back a number of years, Michelle Lydon from Wollaston led an effort that refurbished it, but that was 20 years ago. It's amazing how time goes by, Joe. And that equipment, usually you get 20 to 25 years out of the good stuff. The less quality stuff, you're lucky to get it done in 12 years out of.
Project will include separate new playground equipment for 2 to 5-year-olds and 5 to 12-year-olds, new benches and tables, plus that poured rubber surface to replace the wood chips to make it more accessible. The $345,000 project is the 26th major playground renovation in Quincy over the past 4 years. Well, trick-or-treating for Halloween tonight will be a whole lot more fun for hundreds of South Shore youngsters thanks to the annual Halloween costume drive given by Interfaith Social Services of Quincy. Individuals, businesses, and community partners all recently donated brand new costumes that were distributed earlier this month. It was the first in-person Halloween costume drive event in 2 years due to the pandemic. Children of food pantry clients were able to select the costume they wanted. Dozens of volunteers helped to hand out the costumes during a fun-filled day that also included distribution of sugar pumpkins and some fun children's activities. That's our look at news. Coming up, we will have a chat with Robert Pearson, director of the Norfolk County RSVP program. That's next. Welcome back. Today we are checking back in with Robert Pearson, the director of the Norfolk County RSVP program, for an update on what's been happening over the past several months and what is coming up. So Robert's joining us virtually today. We appreciate the opportunity to check in. How are you, Robert? Good to see you again.
I am doing very well, Joe, all things considered. And I always enjoy coming back on the show to give you an update. You're one of my favorite people in Quincy to check in with, and also to hear the informative news, what's happening in Quincy, since I'm in Dedham at this time.
Right, where the RSVP program is headquartered. I guess we should always start, if you don't mind, with just kind of a refresher about what the RSVP program is.
Of course. So RSVP stands for Retired Senior Volunteer Program. We are one of hundreds of programs around the country that is sponsored by AmeriCorps. So we are a national service program that basically gets to pick all the different kind of activities that we want to support people in. And we recruit older adults, age 55 plus, in meeting these different goals. Our sponsors are the Norfolk County Commissioners, and they do a great job of supporting us in offering free rides to medical appointments for veterans. We also offer elementary school tutoring, Meals on Wheels volunteers, English as a second language tutors. I'd say about 8 or 9 different programs at this point that do evolve through time. And we are back up to about 185 volunteers. We were down to about 25 at the beginning of COVID, and our goal is to come back up to 285 volunteers.
Okay, so making a lot of progress on that front for sure. And are your services fully in person now, or there's still some virtuality to it?
Well, I think there will always be some virtual opportunities, Joe, because it has been a great learning experience to know, especially for many older adults who are infirm or have trouble getting out, or are especially still concerned about being out and about. We can have volunteers check in with them over the telephone, as friendly visitors, and even English as a second language volunteers can do this over the telephone or over Zoom. So it's a combination, but hopefully more and more. people will be coming back into the sites and doing more things in person.
So if we could talk a little bit about how one becomes a volunteer with RSVP.
Thank you for that. The basic steps. I sometimes just want to go into all the activities. So thanks for that. Well, if you're listening to this program, you can give me a call at 781-234-3445. Typically, we have a brief application, since many of you would be volunteering at particular partner sites. Many of those sites have a more in-depth application, so we keep ours simple. For those people that are going to be involved with older adults or children, we will do a background query check, turn that around very quickly. And then once you are onboarded, we would tell you about the benefits and supports that we give you through RSVP. Specifically, if you are even just driving to your partner site, but especially if you're driving veterans to medical appointments, we give a generous mileage reimbursement. We also have a supplemental insurance for accident and liability. God forbid, we've only had one incident in the past 25 years where people have needed that insurance, but it is something that we can offer our volunteers, as well as a bi-monthly newsletter where you might be highlighted in articles and pictures. And we have returned, Joe, to in-person volunteer recognition events. We just held our first big one again with about 110 participants under a big tent this past August in Dedham. And people get to connect with really feel like community, between volunteering with people similar to volunteers in your own program, and then you get to see and learn about the volunteer successes in other programs. So there are certificates of appreciation, a nice catered luncheon, some gifts and raffle prizes. So it's always a good time, and it's a reminder of how you, as seniors in the community, stay vibrant and vital and will do things to make a difference in the lives of others.
If you could, Robert, maybe talk a little bit about once you do become a volunteer with RSVP, the support that person is offered in terms of training before they're actually, sent out on their mission.
Okay, well, you are asking the key questions, Joe, and I can overlook them typically. The school program for elementary school tutoring is really where there is the greatest level of training. So we have a lead school volunteer as well as a dedicated program manager, Chris Goldsmith, who is our volunteer coordinator. And before you're matched in a given school, you will meet with other prospective or current school volunteers and really be trained on different reading techniques and in some cases mathematic techniques. So those are really, that's the most formal training that occurs for RSVP. Typically, the partner sites will do their own in-depth training. If you're working, let's say, for the Mass Association for the Blind, with Friendly Visiting, they would give you some guidance on how to work with a blind or visually impaired person. And learning this, whether you're volunteering remotely or in person, is valuable. We offer supplemental trainings on occasion. We haven't since COVID, but we might come back to a CPR supplemental training for RSVP volunteers. Periodically, we will offer a group. I wouldn't call it training as much as workshop in people being able to write letters and make cards for veterans and active duty military, and sending good wishes. Excuse me. That is more of a project than a training, but another example of a get together for RSVP. So the typical trainings will occur through schools, Joe, and we will give people the basic orientation, usually over the phone still, for all other volunteer opportunities of what they could expect, the timeline, and of course, how to stay in touch with us, submit timesheets, which we need to receive to meet our volunteer grant requirements.
Right.
How's that?
That's perfect. I just think it's important to point out that, you're not just sent out on your own and said, go do this and we'll never hear from you again.
Oh, no, they will hear from us.
Exactly.
We will check in, make sure that they are placed. So yes, definitely. We will follow up. As we place you, we want to make sure that the match has been successful. And ultimately, if you're uncomfortable, if you're meeting in something that after a few weeks you realize it's not right for you, you'll let us know. We'll check in with you and we'll do our best to place you in another position.
Sure.
You're never on your own. Though some people, if you tell us you're set, don't bother me. No, if you're visiting somebody and you stay very independent, that's great. But we are here at any time to be a support to you. Okay.
Well, now I can set you loose, Robert. You can tell us exactly what it is that you need right now.
Well, a few things come to mind at this time of year, and especially when I'm speaking to all of you folks out in Quincy. There are a number of active partner sites in Quincy. Joe earlier mentioned Interfaith Social Services. We are always looking for food pantry volunteers for probably 2 to 4 hour shifts. Usually in the afternoons, it appears, is when they need them. Quincy Community Action Program is right now gearing up for their annual VITA tax program support. So what they offer really are tax support to individuals and families that make $56,000 or less. And we recruit volunteers to either help with doing tax returns, which not as many people are interested in that element, as the people persons that want to speak to the people ahead of time and gather their information, find out if they're eligible, give them direction on how to submit their documents, and basically be a verbal support over the phone to the people as information is getting gathered.
Yeah, as we talked about before the show, I think that's a key service because it can be overwhelming for folks, especially when it comes to gathering the correct materials and credentials and putting them in order and understanding if you qualify for the tax assistance program or not. So just to have that part of it done before you even get into the tax preparation part of it, I think it'd be a big help.
Absolutely. And in general, for older adults working on financial support and assistance, this type of support, as well as the opportunity where some people might want a one-on-one help with being a money manager, that's another opportunity. You could really make a difference, because if these people don't have adequate help, it could really set them back in significant ways where they might not be able to pay their bills, and things could snowball in ways for certain people. So between tax support and money management, they are really vital ways to help older adults. And you're welcome to call me, those of you that are listening, if you're interested in helping in those areas in Quincy and beyond. QCAP also does have what I'll call English for Speakers of Other Languages, ESOL. It's pretty similar to ESL, English as a Second Language, but this is for people who are looking to still speak their primary language in their lives, but need some guidance in learning basic phrases and learning some English. So it's not as if they want English to supplant their natural language. These might be, a lot older adults who are, used to speaking, Spanish or Russian or whatever other languages. But you are helping them so that they can basically succeed in basic transactions of daily living while they were out in the community or on the phone trying to receive assistance. So there is a significant need for that in Quincy and other areas as well. Friendly visitors is another area, Joe. And while we don't have locations directly in Quincy, if people are willing to commute out to certain senior living locations in Randolph, Canton, or Dedham, we do have opportunities where you can, in person, meet once a week for an older adult or a couple for about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes and socialize over a cup of coffee. If you're interested in doing something remotely or in a person's home in Quincy, through what I mentioned earlier as the Massachusetts Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired, that's MABVI, M-A-B-V-I. There are opportunities where you can go in people's homes in Quincy. You might, in that case, help them with writing checks, reading their mail, do occasional food shopping for them.
And it's funny, I'm thinking all of these programs that you're talking about have the unique side effect of also offering social interaction, right?
Yes. Key point, because reducing social isolation, especially in the face of COVID, which has increased the isolation element for people, it is huge. Whether you're talking about a brief visit in somebody's home or on the telephone. And to add to that area, Meals on Wheels. Even if you decide you want to do a meals route in Quincy or a neighboring town, just by virtue of knocking on somebody's door, where they'll open up the door and you'll greet them and give them their meal. Some clients look forward to this. They'll see the same, the same person, once a week or a couple times a week, and they'll socialize. They need this, especially if they don't have other family members or are. It's so interesting, Joe, because some people, we've asked people if they want to have friendly visitors. It's been easier to find volunteers to do friendly visiting. In terms of personally as an RSVP director, than people that want to have the fuss made over them or people coming into their house. So it's interesting. If people within their normal routines day to day come across other people, it's invaluable. But they don't want to. So many don't want to take the step to really formally have somebody come see them. So the Meals on Wheels is a great way for that to occur.
Interesting. And I'm sure that the volunteer, we've talked about this many times before, but the volunteer also benefits from that interaction.
Absolutely. Well, the volunteer, I would say the average age of our volunteer is about 72. They range in age from 55 to 94. But indeed, our older volunteers, they are there to socialize. It enriches them. They enjoy telling a story or listening. So it's a win-win. Volunteers get a big benefit from connecting with others, being in a routine just once a week.
Sure.
For an hour a week. It doesn't take much, folks. You could do it from the comfort of your home by telephone. You could go and visit somebody in your neighborhood. Or if you have a little more energy, you could come on out and be a little more active.
Yep.
So indeed, Joe, you know at this point from all our conversations and from your experience working with older adults how much they benefit from this.
Absolutely, yeah. We only have about a minute or so left, Robert, but I know you want to talk about the need for volunteer drivers for veterans.
Okay, well, I am going to talk about two topics for veterans and active duty military. See, time flies so quickly when I'm talking to you, Joe. I will say initially that we are having our annual holiday drive for active duty military, where we are collecting personal care items like deodorant, foot powder, hand wipes, mouthwash, boot laces, new socks. The closest drop-off point for you folks in Quincy is going to be the Weymouth Senior Center. But I could send Joe a list of all the care items if there's a way for you to list that. More importantly, the topic of drivers for our Rides for Vets program. And as well, we'll talk briefly about riders, who's eligible. So if you are available to give a ride to a veteran 2 times in 1 month, you could get to pick the ride, whether it's going from Quincy to Brockton, VA, or Jamaica Plain, VA, or from Weymouth or other neighboring town. We will give you adequate mileage reimbursement. You do need to know how to use a very user-friendly computer database to sign up for rides. You could do so, and any of you out there that are veterans or know of veterans that need transportation, we are available. They could call the number that Joe has listed on the screen to contact me, and we need at least a week's notice to give people the medical ride. So I'm trying to finish within the 1-minute time frame Joe has given me.
Appreciate that, Robert. I know there's so much more to talk about, so we'll have to have you back.
Oh, well, I'll look forward to being back early in the new year with some new programs. And yeah, I hope this makes sense to you folks out there. Happy holidays. Happy Halloween to all of you. Tonight, I'm sure you'll be greeting some trick-or-treaters. And thanks again for having me, Joe.
Oh, it's our pleasure, Robert. Thank you. We will check the forecast for you briefly here for the rest of the day today. Not too bad, actually. Mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures in the low to mid-60s this afternoon. Fine for trick-or-treating tonight, down to the mid-50s. And after some rain tomorrow, sunshine returns with mild temperatures through the end of the week. Thanks again to Robert Pearson for joining us from the RSVP program. Thanks to our crew. Thank you for watching. Friday, it's folks from Quincy College. Join us on the show then. Meantime, our website anytime, QATV.org. For all of us here at QATV, I'm Joe Catalano. Have a great week.